From the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we are talking about women in business, or more specifically, Women Mean Business, which happens to be a committee co-chaired by my two guests, Instructor Sethi and Christy Plunkett-Barese. They are with Women Mean Business, which is part of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, ladies. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce serves Fairfax City and its suburbs, which I love how Jennifer Rose, who we'll be talking with later in the show, likes to describe it,
yes.
The suburbs and Fairfax City. So you two are obviously very active. You're co-chairs of Women Mean Business, and you actually have different roles. So Terica, you are a business owner, and Christy, you are a financial advisor, financial planner, right?
Correct.
And so you represent women who are professionals, business owners, you know, all kinds of different roles. And so I want to start out by asking you what your journey was to where you got. So I'm going to start with Terica and ask, you are the owner of this OSA Martial Arts. How did you end up being the owner of this business?
Well, we have 4 locations. So I'm the owner of the Fairfax City location. And when I was a teenager and in college, I loved playing sports. When I graduated, there was no basketball league. So I was like, oh, maybe, you know, martial arts, and I can incorporate it to my teen prevention programs. And I jumped in, and then when I came back from Peace Corps, I was like, there's not many women. And with the social work background, I was like, I wonder why. And I realized it's because there's not many female owners. There's instructors, but it's always owned by a male. So I was like, well, I'll just do it. And then that's how it came about. And I was like, but I want it to be with a family mix, with a woman-centric component, and then, you know, and also bringing back the traditions of martial arts, because a lot of that has also been watered down a bit.
So you touched on some things that I want to. You were a Peace Corps volunteer, right?
Yes.
You are. You have a master's degree in social work from George Mason University.
Correct.
You own this martial arts studio.
Correct.
And it is women-centric, but right now you are in the midst of running day camps.
Correct.
So it's also very family-oriented.
It
These
is.
are very long days for you.
Yeah, but it's fun.
And so, like, the skills that you have acquired along the way, did this set you up for choosing this particular business?
I mean, when I started martial arts, it kind of gave me, you know, the foundation of my passion for it. But the skills of social work and group work and interacting with people, that definitely was an asset. And then working in Peace Corps and learning about different cultures and how to incorporate all different viewpoints helps me bring a very calm and nurturing environment.
Was it a scary step for you to decide to own a business?
No, I think by the time I decide, I'm kind of that type of person where I'm like, if I set my mind to something, I just want to do it. So I set my mind to it. I was like, women need to learn self-defense. The martial arts, like the traditions and the values of martial arts, need to be brought back. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I went forward.
And so, yes, I can see why you're one of the co-chairs. So, Christy, one of the things you and I have in common is that we both have a degree in political science, right? So you obviously had a different kind of journey, too, to arrive at the career you now have. Explain a little about how that came about.
Yeah, no, I think I've had a couple, like you, I think I've had a couple of different iterations. So I have a degree in political science, and after college I got a degree, I worked for Georgia Pacific Corporation and worked in lumber, and was like, I don't want to do this. And so I was like, I'm moving to DC. I knew no one, I knew nothing, and I was like, I'm gonna work in and around politics. And so I ended up working in the nonprofit area for about almost 20 years. And it was really important to me. And I think when it came to financial education and literacy, it was something that I just kind of taught myself along the way. And I personally went through a divorce when my son was really young, and I had this, like, what am I going to do now? And so through that process, I realized that there were many other women out there that were like me. And I just felt compelled. I was inspired at that point to make a change, to get into this business. This business is still very male dominated. And there was a need, there still is a need for more women into this industry. In fact, oftentimes, we find that women feel more comfortable speaking with a woman about their finances because there's fear, there's that anxiety that comes with, I should know this, but I don't, I'm embarrassed. And so there's a lot of really good opportunities, I think, for women in this business. And for me, it was a passion that I had to want to help other people so they can feel empowered, because money makes them feel empowered.
Well, and one of the interesting things about one of the greatest dangers for women as they age is poverty. I mean, we think about health, like, will it be cancer, or will you develop some kind of medical issue? Women tend to live longer than men on average, but they run out of money. And that is a huge fear, because women are also caregivers. And this, culturally in our country, we take care of the young, we take care of the older, we take care of those who are ill and who are sick, but you don't put away money in a 401k. You don't have any earnings that are going into your Social Security account. Literally, you are doing all the heavy lifting, the nurturing, the caring, you're taking care of everyone, and yet at the end of the day, you have no financial assets or savings. And so I can understand where, and truly, there are a lot of things I don't mind sharing with people, but nobody wants to share their finances. Yeah. Right? Like, I'll tell you almost anything, but don't ask me how much is in my savings account, because I don't want to tell you that.
Yeah.
And I do think that women are reluctant to seek help for fear of being criticized for something they should have known, or for the fact that we haven't done more or done better. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, there's no better time than right now to start thinking about your financial health into a life that could extend to being 90.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that we see a lot in this industry with women is exactly what you said. We take time off from work to take care of other people, and that impacts our ability to build up that retirement through our work, like 401ks and TSPs. And there's also a phenomenon that's occurring right now. It's gray divorce, and that's individuals that are in their 60s that are getting divorced in their 60s, and people, if they live like we expect them to live, they still have another 30 plus years in retirement. And now we're looking at, oh, well, now I have to figure out, how am I going to make a living? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? And so there's so many factors that are taking place. In fact, that's the fastest growing divorce segment is women or individuals, obviously over 60.
Yeah, and I'll lay something else on you too. Mm-hmm. Having worked on the homelessness task force in the city for a year, the fastest growing population of unhoused people are people over 65. Mm-hmm. Literally senior citizens who are unhoused. Mm-hmm. And not for any other reason except, to your point, if you don't have a safety net, if you don't have family, if you don't have anything, when you lose your home, you have nothing to fall back on. And so I think financial literacy is so important, and it really does underlie everything else, and yet it's very mysterious. Very mysterious. And I think, so the whole idea that women mean business is a way of bringing women together in different sorts of events and programming and helping them to build relationships. Terica, working with women, especially, and you're working with women who have kids who are in your day, how important is it for women to form strong relationships with other women?
I think it's really important. I think it's very empowering. I just had a group of women who tested for their black belt. There were men in there too, but predominantly women. And you could definitely see the difference because they supported each other, they were motivating each other. And these are women with a lot of injuries and a lot of, other issues. But they pushed through, and it was that network and that support that helped them. I really was just in the background because I'm their instructor, so I was just teaching them. But I told them, become a family and help each other. And they did. They naturally gravitated to it because, like we were saying earlier, we're nurturers. And so they took to it and they all succeeded, in beautiful ways. They grew.
So you're an empowerment coach. You actually have OSA empowerment coaching.
Yes, because when I first started, I didn't really have a network of individuals to help me in the terms of females. I found my master instructor very late in the game, but being a female is still different. And so, but like I said, I like to just figure it out. but I know that there's a lot of other women who might not be similar. So I wanted to give them an opportunity, not just as business owners, but just in life, or if they're working in a male-dominated field, to just find a network of individuals to rely on or talk to.
So speaking of male-dominated industries, Christy, you were going to tell us a little bit about your book club, Women in Power Book Club, and how that came about.
Yeah, so great question. It came out of a group called Women on Course, which was started here in the Northern Virginia region, has expanded across the U.S., and that group was pulled together to help women not only develop business relationships, professional relationships, but also learn how to play golf, because we know that's generally where business has been done, was out on the golf course. This particular book club is spun off of that at this point. It's called the Women's Empowerment Book Club, and we get together once a month, the third Friday of each month. So anybody that's watching this is welcome to come and join us, including you, Catherine. We'd love to have you. And we read through different business books. We sort of agree to read together. I have to admit, I don't read all of them. I mean, I'm the one that shows up, I network, it's a networking opportunity, and I learn something in the process. Sometimes I do read the books, but it has been an amazing group of people, and we share stories about things that we're all going through, because it's all different women at different parts of their professional lives. Most of them are business owners, but a lot of them might be, this is a side business that they're trying to get off the ground. So there's all sorts of different types of people that are attend that group. So it's been a really wonderful experience.
So you're a convener and a facilitator, because somebody has to, like, you're a convener too. Somebody has to bring women together, which is again why I love this concept of Women Mean Business as being something where you're putting a name to it and you're saying, we recognize someone's got to convene this group of women, give them a reason to stop what they're doing and go be in person with other people. So, you know, for me, this is really important as far as the future of developing, especially young women coming up, you know, because a lot of young people are great online and they're great with social media and they're great with digital everything. But when it comes to like being in a room, having a conversation, introducing yourself to people, making a real connection and having a substantive conversation, I think young people, young women particularly, are really challenged by this. Anyway, we're going to go to a break, but I want to come back to this and talk more about what you all have in mind to include everyone of all ages as you look toward the agenda and the programming for Women Mean Business. So, you at home, please join us after this break. We are talking with Instructor Sethi and we are talking with Christy Plunkett-Barese, and they are going to tell us more about how we can get involved with Women Mean Business.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. Already posted it.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But I'm scared of that I can do this, was remember you know I usually stay down, but if you throw me love off the wood, that's some more.
It's a big responsibility.
Oh, it's huge. I know, it's huge.
And the salary.
Oh my god, yes. I mean,
Right.
like, I was about to move in with my parents, and right before, so this saved me.
I really believe in you, you know?
Thank you. It's nice to hear that from someone.
These are cool. Did you
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we are talking about women in business and the fact that women mean business. And I have two co-chairs of Women Mean Business, which is a committee, a program within the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. Instructor Sethi and Christy Plunkett-Barese are going to tell us now about how they came to be co-chairs.
Well, I think Christy and I we both started amidst COVID because everything was online. And then when it became in person, like we got a little bit more involved. And previously Jennifer was in charge and then she stepped down. And Jennifer Rose, who you guys will see later, she asked me to be a chair, and I was like, well, Jennifer, I don't want to put you in a position where when I'm in summer camp, I can't do it. So then I was like, but Christy and I have been hanging out, and Christy will be a good co-lead. And so then I asked Christy, and then Christy was like, okay. And then
She's not really telling the full story.
Jump on in, Christy.
This all took place in the background, and then while we were all on a call together, she kind of called me out in the middle of a call and said, "If Christy will do it." I mean, I kind of had no choice.
Putting her on the spot,
Yeah,
making her
but-
go,
But I did talk to her.
But it was happy. I was happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
She's
guys,
a good co-leader. I mean, we balance each
Yeah.
other out, and we have similar missions. So
and I would say you're doing a spectacular job
Thank
because
you.
you are coming up with ideas and programming and events. And we've got an event coming up during Shop Local Week, which is Friday, July the 26th. But I will talk to Jennifer Rose about that. But you do things like that. So
Yes.
you're dovetailing onto the Shop Local Week in Fairfax City to bring women together so that it's fun. There's a connection and people are building relationships.
yeah. Well, this year we both agreed that we wanted it to be a rebuilding year, with the idea of next year where people really get to know us and know what we're all about. So this year we're really trying to find the women businesses and the females that need us and do the events and activities that would cater to them.
So you did, so I first met you, Christy, when you did a luncheon with an author and an airline pilot who's just the most fascinating person. And I ended up interviewing her. I learned so much from her. But explain how you landed such a great guest and put together this really great lunch. It was well attended.
Yeah.
People just, the feedback was amazingly positive.
Yeah.
Well, Catherine, thank you. We, first of all, we were so thrilled to have you in that role, and I think you obviously do this on a regular basis, so having that interview aspect with Laura Savino was wonderful. So how this all came about, it was a luncheon that we put together. It's kind of our signature Women Mean Business luncheon. It took place in March to honor, Women's History Month. And we were trying to think through kind of who we all knew, and I actually happened to know Laura Savino personally, and believe it or not, we met through the Women on Course, playing golf together. Anne was also in the book club together, and she, during that time, she was writing her book, and so I kind of watched her go through this process, and it's really kind of taken off. I mean, she as you mentioned, is an incredibly accomplished, inspiring individual, and so we were just honored to have her and you there as part of that meeting. And so I think futuristically and I didn't do it alone by any mean. This was Tarek and I both on the phone constantly with Jennifer Rose going, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Yeah. I just happened to know her personally, and so that was a good thing. But in the future, that is really one of the things that we want to see happen with this committee, is we want to see programs where we're inspiring others by just listening to some people's stories. Stories are the best thing we can share because someone can identify themselves within that story. And so that's really what we're hoping to accomplish with our Women Mean Business Committee really over the next year or so.
And in addition to the stories, but also like helping them navigate the water.
Yeah.
So like if they have a question or a concern, then it's like putting them in the right direction and being like, oh, I know this person, you should talk to them and network with them, they could help you. So it's not just leaving them hanging, but just saying, okay, well, here's another person you can discuss this with.
You know, and that's the power of networking. People ask me all the time, do you know someone who?
Yeah.
Do you know someone who can do my accounting? Do you know someone who can build out my office space? Do you know someone who can develop a logo? Do you know somebody? I mean, people are always looking for somebody, and they have a comfort level if it's a referral of somebody personally, not just searching online and picking a name.
Yeah.
People want to know that you know that person, and that truly is the power of networking.
Yeah.
And you know, I see that as the primary role is you giving people space to get to know each other. But I think also having these wonderful kind of marquee events and having extraordinary people, and we live in a region that has so many accomplished women in it to help people understand everybody started somewhere.
Yeah.
Laura Savino, you know, she had a very interesting story to tell, and you know, you wouldn't know until you sat down to listen to how persistent she was. In talk about a male-dominated industry, she's like the first woman commercial airline pilot. So it helps people to understand that everybody started with the first step, right? Nobody just popped out of you know, the womb and it's like, here I am and I'm accomplished. But until we hear other people's stories, we don't realize that it's often messy. You know, I heard somebody describe the trajectory of women's careers more like interval training. You know, because most people are like, my career starts here and it goes this way, like a graph. And it's like, you start here, you end up here, and you're very accomplished. But for a lot of women, and again, we talked about caregiving roles, it's like this interval training. You take a break and then you try to get back in, or you switch careers, right? Or new careers pop up. So when I dropped out of corporate America in 2007, I hung out my shingle as a social media consultant. It was called online marketing then, 2007. So people didn't even know what it was. People hadn't heard of Twitter, or businesses didn't understand what Facebook was. But so there was nobody with 20 years of experience, but I had figured it out. So I hung out my shingle and said, I will teach you how. And so my career took this kind of pivot. It went down this unexpected road because of an unexpected industry. And I think, again, with women of all ages, we need to understand that there are things that haven't been invented yet. How do we prepare ourselves to be that person for the thing that doesn't have a name?
I mean, I think women are very adaptable just because of what we have to do in life. You know, you have to take care of kids, you have to work. I mean, you just have to run with it. So I think like when things come at us, I think having that same persona with business or with life or with work comes in very handy. Like, just go with the flow. And I think if you leave that door open, it'll help you a lot more.
I think so too.
I would say the role too, it's setting up a good role model for our girls and our boys. You know, I'm a mother of a son, and he sees me in a role where I'm going out and I'm doing this type of event. He said, oh, you've got this tonight. You know, I mean, it's what he knows. There isn't this other expectation that mom doesn't have a seat at the table. And so I think that's a really big role that we can continue to foster within all of the women that we build these relationships with, and why it's so important.
And going off of Christy, that's why I kind of have the family atmosphere, because I want the males and the young boys to know that, hey, you can have a female instructor and you can have female peers that can keep up with you. And so, you know, and so the boys, they love it as much as the girls.
You know, and the world has changed a lot. You know, women lawyers, women doctors, you know, it's no longer a novelty or an exception. It's just you expect now to see women everywhere. Although there are still male-dominated industries where it's been a little bit slower. And both of you are in those industries where it's been a little bit slower. So I think moving forward, you know, what do you guys, there's still like 6 months left in the year. And what do you hope to do? I know there's a luncheon coming up in September, and we've got the thing on July 26th. But what other kinds of things are you hoping to do?
I mean, for me, I really want to put it out to the community. That's why I took the role. I was like, okay, well, I know what I need, but, you know, I want to know, or I know what I want to do. But it's not always about us. I mean, it's, you know, we're where we are because we've already done things. So I really want to hear from the community. So if anyone's, you know, watching, I'd rather have them contact us and be like, this is what I want, and then Christy and I will make sure it happens.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do a blend of things where we're doing fun things and things that women enjoy doing, whether that's the shopping or getting our nails done or some painting and sipping, that sort of thing. And blending that in while because that women connect, right?
Right.
And that's really how we build the relationships, that's how we work together. So that's an important part of any of the programming that we build into it. But to Tarika's point, I think ideally we're very open to what do other people need from an organization or a group like this that would make them want to come, to these meetings, and that's our goal, is to increase the membership, increase the excitement around that group.
I think it's great to put feelers out for what people are interested in doing. And the two of you are just the epitome of collaboration too. It's kind of like, it's not like, well, we had a program and we made up our mind and we put out the schedule and you're invited. It's kind of like, no, we have an idea, this is what we want to accomplish, and we want to figure out how to bring more people in and to be collaborative in creating something that will have value. I think, just as a suggestion, since you asked,
Yes.
Investing.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
women do not invest,
No.
and because we don't
Yeah.
invest, or it's scary, or it seems risky, or whatever, what little money people have might be sitting in a savings account, but it's not necessarily working for you.
No.
And so just helping to understand that there are very low risk ways to invest in stocks or funds or whatever, and I think that's a mysterious thing that would benefit from a women mean business treatment if you guys are like,
Well, we did
like
have
that.
like one where the bank coincided their talk with bike riding, and they did a phenomenal job.
Really?
And, yeah, so they related it. It was like, so here's bike riding, and then here's some information, and so everyone took to it pretty nicely. So maybe we'll do something along the same lines.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of opportunity in that area, and if we can make something a little less scary,
Yeah.
and that plays into their business as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of women and anybody in this type of business has fluctuating income. They don't know where their paycheck is coming from, and so how can we, talk about that as ways for them to be able to feel comfortable about stepping outside of their own 9-to-5 jobs and doing things that they want to do. So. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yes, we'll take it to heart. So, but even speaking to earlier, where you were saying seniors and how I worked with seniors as a social worker, and financial exploitation was huge. So I always, and they never had money. So that's why I'm very cautious about my finances. But it would be nice to have some seniors coming out and having them understand what finances are about too.
well, I appreciate that. You
Yeah.
guys are awesome. Thank you, Tarika. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
This has been very informative. For our viewers at home, you have an open invitation from Tarika and Christy. They are the co-chairs of Women Mean Business, which is part of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. After the break, we will be talking with Jennifer Rose, the executive director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. So please join us after the break.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Grandpa, look what I got. Let me see.
Oh, Dad, wait till you see the bike we got for Jake.
Hearing loss happens gradually with age, making it easy to ignore. Yet most older Americans aren't getting their hearing tested. Untreated hearing loss can keep your loved ones from enjoying what they cherish most.
Dad, can you hear me?
Don't let that happen. Speak up about hearing loss. You'll be glad you did.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture, you can jump, yell, you can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. 'Cause we're connected.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we're talking about women in business. And our guest on this segment is the Executive Director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, Jennifer Rose. Thank you for being here, Jennifer.
You know, I love coming on the show with you, Catherine. It's been a hot minute.
It has been a minute. I think our last one was during COVID, actually, and it was remote and it was fabulous, but now we're all back to regularly scheduled life.
Yes.
So you have been at the head of the chamber for 6.5 years. I think you and I have known each other for at least 10 years, if not
15,
longer.
girl.
15, yeah, 15 years, that's right, that's right. When you first, and you come through the nonprofit world, just if you can, we were talking earlier about how women kind of have a different path to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about how your path kind of zigged and zagged to where you are.
Well, I've always wanted to be in the nonprofit world, and I joke and say I'm a recovering fundraiser, but in this area, I've been in this area for 16 years, and I worked at Northern Virginia Family Service, doing a lot of community engagement work with them. Talked at a lot of chamber events, Rotary meetings.
Yes.
Left there to work for a much smaller organization, Bright Paths. I know you're very familiar with Bright Paths. Did their development work. Along the way, I was a Rotarian in Fairfax. I was a Rotarian out in New Mexico. And when I got to know our chamber's current board chair, got to be friends, knew about the Central Fairfax Chamber. It had its struggles for a while. And as we talked, he started picking my brain. And then one day I realized, I think I want to work for this chamber. They hadn't had a paid person in
It had been a while.
7 or 8 years at least.
It had been a while.
And they needed somebody to reboot it and relaunch it. And I thought, what an interesting challenge. I think I want to do this.
And you really have put your spin on it. I mean, in a way that you've approached being executive director is so much more than just having member companies and serving member companies. You're very much woven into the fabric of the community. Mm-hmm. Just as an example, so Rock the Block, which is every Friday night, for like years you were the MC every Friday night, and then they sort of started switching it around, but at the last minute, at the last Rock the Block, Parks and Rec calls you and says, can you be the MC? Right?
They called me in.
They called you in, but I mean, the fact that you are a community resource, like that is something kind of extra and outside being the executive director of the chamber, and yet all of these things are interrelated. The same for the fireworks show. Again, the person who was supposed to MC the fireworks show on the 4th of July couldn't do it, so Parks and Rec calls Jennifer Rose. And so Jennifer does the MC job. And you pretty much have just been that person in the Fairfax City for such a long time. And so I think people recognize the fact that you're more than just the head of an organization, you're deeply invested.
Absolutely. I mean, my whole philosophy with Chambers of Commerce, since I came on board, was they are a community solution to problems, issues, challenges. It requires membership to fund us because we're a membership organization, but you know, strong communities need strong businesses, and strong businesses need strong communities. And we have the brand and the power to bring people together that not any run-of-the-mill person can necessarily do. You know, we're nonpartisan, we don't have politics in play, we just want to do what is best for the business community, economic development, and all that's going to turn around and feed the beast, so to speak, and make the city a better place to live, and Fairfax County. You know, I joke.
The suburbs.
I say that we serve the city of Fairfax and its suburbs.
I love that.
Interestingly enough, more of my members are actually in the county than in the city, but I'm slowly working on that. You know, when I started 6.5 years ago, I had 85 members. Today I'm at almost 350. We had this pandemic thing that interrupted my world domination, but
so you started out with 85, but you've added already 80 businesses just this year.
Yes, I've added, I think, 82 this year. Now I lose businesses too every month, but yes, we are growing like gangbusters this year. We are on track to add 160 members. Last year I added 110, so we're rolling.
And you're very good because in addition to all the programming, you have something every single day of the week. And you have things for young professionals, and you have things at lunchtime, and you have things after hours, and you have things at breakfast. I mean, you have something for everybody all the time. But you're really good about, you and Doug Church are very good about showing up to ribbon cuttings in the city to welcome new businesses.
Yes.
And lately we have had a spate of women-owned businesses. 2 different skincare businesses and a yoga studio that was started by 2 friends, you know, who took it from doing, you know, yoga events on site at other people's places to a brick and mortar store. That's a big leap.
It is.
For women. And so I think the Chamber really, you have something for everybody, but Women Mean Business really is carving out something that says we do want to support women entrepreneurs and business owners.
Indeed, and in fact, it's the 3rd group that I put together when I came to work for the Chamber. I started with young professionals first. I wanted to get that injection of energy into the Chamber. And then I quickly realized these ribbon cuttings are at 3 in the afternoon, and I got kids to pick up and carpool. So I need help. We added ambassadors next, and then we added our Women Mean Business Committee, and they have, you know, their first year was amazing. You know, COVID kind of took the wind out of our sails. I know in our earlier segments, Terica mentioned we're rebuilding. The one thing that we do every year in January, our first meeting of the year, is to ask the attendees, what do you want us to do this year? What's the theme? And we take that into consideration as we plan everything for the rest of the year.
So talking about all the things that women juggle, and we are the caregivers for everyone. So you raised 2 boys. In fact, your youngest just graduated from high school.
He did.
Right? So like all these things that you've done over the last 16 years, and you've been raising 2 boys and doing all of these other things, and now they're kind of like the little bit like out of the nest, 1 foot out of the nest anyway. And you really, I have known you for such a long time, and of all the things you've done, I just feel like this is the thing you love the most.
Yes.
Like it's so evident to me that you just love all of it.
Except budget season. I don't love budget season. But I get better at it every year. No, I mean, I can look back at my career and everything, like even going back to when I was in high school, and look at every single little thing that kind of fell into place that prepared me for the moment that the light bulb went on over my head, and I decided, I think I want to do this job. It was a big leap of faith because I was on this 6-month contract working 15 hours a week, and I was like, is this gonna work? But it did.
And now you've got help too.
I do.
How exciting.
2 months in, I've got an events manager who's overqualified and underpaid, God bless her, but she's phenomenal, and it is taking a lot off my plate. I mean, you mentioned how busy we are. We are one of the most active chambers in the region, and everybody's like, why? And I'm like, well, our members, you know, small businesses, they may be heading out the door to hit an event, and all of a sudden, you know, the cooler breaks, you know, school calls, picked my kid up, and they can't come. I don't want them to wait a whole month to come to something.
Right.
So chances are they can come the next day. Sometimes they can come later that day, but I try really hard not to do 3 events in one day, although it has happened.
It has happened. I know that it has. But you know, I think the fact that you are trying to meet people where they are, and the fact that you talk about small business, because Fairfax City is a small city, and we have small business spaces.
Yes.
And so we have a lot of small businesses, but they need support, and they need to be a community, and they need to network with one another. So our size as a city is an asset, I believe. And I think the Chamber having, you know, 300, almost 400 businesses is also small enough that you know everybody, and that you can reach out and touch them in some way, or meet them somewhere, or offer them something where you can meet them and stay connected in a very personal way with your members.
Yeah, that's important to me. No matter how large our chamber ends up becoming, I mean, there's definitely room for growth. There's thousands of businesses in Fairfax City, and I have maybe 150 that are in the city, maybe 200. But there's room for growth, and most of these businesses are those true micro businesses, you know, fewer than 10 full-time equivalent employees. So I'm very intentional in what we do, why we do it, and how we do it, and I want us to always feel small, because we need that community. And it's important for me to be able to, you throw me a member and I rattle off a commercial for them, just like that. It's getting harder to do the bigger we get.
But you also try to spread it around. Like, you know, we have different venues. We have a lot of restaurants in the city, and hosting the breakfast or the luncheon or something at a member location.
Yes, always.
right? And so that brings people to places they would not otherwise have gone. You know, and that takes some coordination, trying to figure out how to make sure you've included everybody.
It is tricky, that is for sure. And, you know, and some of our restaurants are smaller, so they can't support a large networking event that would bring 30, 40, 50, 60 people in, but they can handle one of my boss lunches, which is no more than 10 people. And then I can rotate them in a couple of times a year. So I can bring people into those spaces. They can have Fujisan for the first time. They can have Bellissimo. And be like, oh, I've never been here. And I'm like, well, you have now. And we'll be back again in a few months, so tell your friends. So, yeah, it's tough to keep them all straight, but we do a pretty good job of rotating them around.
So there was an event today, Subs for Subs, and that was kind of because you introduced economic development to SBA, Small Business Administration, which they're located in the same building, in the same complex you are.
Yes.
And you know, saw the synergy that could exist with small government contractors working with larger primary government contractors, right?
Yes.
And so this whole concept, and I was there this morning, and it was very well received. You know, things like that start and then become the thing that you're going to repeat because it's been so successful. What kinds of other things have you done that have been like that?
Well, that one was a fun one because the SBA reached out to me out of the blue to let me know about what they're doing with GovCon space. So they came to our board meeting, and then I said, oh, well, now that you're in Economic Development Central for the city of Fairfax, let me take you across the way and introduce you to some folks. So that was a lot of fun. But I mean, I live and die by partnerships and collaborations. When you're small, you have to leverage that. So we have an outstanding relationship with Fairfax City Economic Development, with the Old Town Fairfax Business Association. We do a lot of partnering with them. We play together in the sandbox quite nicely. And this luncheon that we have in September coming up is a really good example of that. This luncheon that the Commission for Women and Economic Development used to do every March during Women's History Month before COVID. And then COVID came, and we did a virtual one, and then it didn't happen for a couple of years because, you know, virtual events kind of stink. But they are back. We, as a chamber, have continued to do a March luncheon. We talked about Laura Savino's luncheon.
Yeah, that was
last
great.
year. We had Hildy Carney come and speak. She was a part of a couple of landmark sexual harassment and sexual discrimination cases. She's 90 years old, 90?
Yes, yeah, she is.
And amazing. We've kept that tradition, but now we're working again with the Commission for Women and Economic Development to host this September luncheon, and it's going to be every year. It may not always be in September, but it's one of those things that we will do to bring together women business owners in the city and beyond, because we want to bring them into the city so they can see all the great things that Fairfax City Economic Development is doing. And we'll have resources there and information for these business owners no matter what stage of business they're in. Because one thing that I've found about entrepreneurs, it's a lonely place. And when you're a woman, it's even lonelier.
I know. I've been a solopreneur, so yes, I felt that. I've owned 2 different businesses, and one of them was just me. So I can appreciate the support that you provide women through all of these different programs. When we come back, we are talking with Jennifer Rose. She is the Executive Director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, and she's got a lot going on that I think all of us are going to want to know more about. Join us after the break.
I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We? Go to the door, ask for the ball back.
Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtlebeck.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go. Yeah, remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are. Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's a matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about Rick Doubtfire. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play
and prevent wildfires. Fire!
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we are talking about women in business. We're talking about women who mean business, and we are talking with the Executive Director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, Jennifer Rose, who can tell us all about that. So when we went to a break, you were talking about collaborations and partnerships and how you make introductions and you make things happen. So Old Town Fairfax Business Association is one of, OTFBA is one of your partners, Economic Development Office is one of your partners. Tell us about some of these collaborations and what you have managed to do in the last 6.5 years.
Yeah, sure. So when Old Town Fairfax Business Association, we'll just call it OTFBA, it was getting started about the same time I came on board with the chamber. And it was created very intentionally. There wasn't a lot happening out of our chamber at the time. So early on, I wanted to make sure that we played with them, that we could support each other. They're new, we're coming out of this dark period where people didn't even know we were still around, and I just needed to get the name out. And it started very early on with our first executive director. We worked together on Carnival Alley with the Fall Festival. That was something that Parks and Rec made available to OTFBA. And they reached out to me, they're like, we need help filling these booths. Can you help? I'm like, absolutely. And that turned into a wonderful partnership right up to this year. Then we started talking about, well, Chocolate Lovers Festival brings so many people into the city, and I'm the chair of that committee. And I'm like, why isn't OTFBA a part of this? I mean, we're right in Old Town. So I roped them in. I was like, come on in. We need your voice and input here. So we got them involved with that. I'm trying desperately to get them involved with the Independence Day Celebration Committee, but we'll get there. So we worked together there. With Restaurant Week, we were the partner with the city originally in 2018, and last year we brought in OTFBA because most of the restaurants that participate in Restaurant Week are in Old Town Fairfax. We worked together with the fall crawl that we do and the summer crawl. That was something they were doing, and they brought the chamber in. So that was nice that I could come in and help support those events that, we're all doing the same thing. We want to shine the spotlight on businesses that are in the city of Fairfax, Old Town, Pickett, North Fax, Camp Washington, I don't care which part of the city, but we all want to do that to bring people in. And it's been really a great partnership to work with OTFBA. They started their signature Asian Festival event 4 years ago.
That's a real story. In 4 years, it went from 0 to 100.
From like 7,000 attendees the first year during the height of COVID, outdoors, July, hot. As a chamber, we were a strong silent partner. I sat on the advisory council, but I could make connections. As they're like, oh, who do we know at H Mart? I'm like, they're a member, I can help you. And they had my services the day of the event, and it's kind of followed that route all the way through. I'm a strong silent partner, we make a small financial contribution, and then they have my services the whole day, whatever they need me to do. Usually I'm the bouncer at Old Town Hall. But it's a great collaboration with the OTFBA because this festival is amazing. The story behind it, how these business owners were like, we want to do something positive for the Asian community. And they were Asian business owners, a woman-owned business, in fact.
Woman-owned business that was the barbershop,
yes,
right?
Wendy Wong. And it was a great thing to watch. And I was very proud to be that silent partner and support them and help lift them up so that it would be successful. And successful for all the many hours that went into planning for that. It was very, very heavily volunteer-led. And it was a joy to see. It's a long day, let me tell you, but it's a great day.
And it gets bigger every year.
It does.
But one of the assets that we have, and you've mentioned like economic development, also Parks and Rec. I mean, you work with city agencies, not just the Merchants Association. Right. You work with lots of people in the city, and you have worked with them for a very long time. But one of the assets that we have is the Q bus system. It's a fare-free system, but you can also run special buses. So not every community, not every town has a fleet of its own buses to bus people in for the fireworks or the parade or the Asian festival. But Fairfax City has that, which gives us sort of this thing, this superpower that other communities don't have, to move thousands of people around the city.
Yep,
for
safely
a festival.
and professionally. You know, I am an old bus driver back in my college days. I did drive I was a transit operator. So the Q bus has a special place in my heart. And it's an amazing system. I mean, those bus drivers are great ambassadors for the city. They move people to and from work. And again, it's free.
It's free. We
It's
were the
free.
first. We were
First ones to do it.
Yeah, the first fare-free bus system in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now there are 8 of them. The last one to go fare-free was Blacksburg. And a friend of mine, Michael Sutphin, was running for town council, and that's what he ran on. If they elected him, he'd make the bus fare-free. They re-elected him, he made the bus fare-free. So there you go. So, but we do have that as an asset, but there's a lot of other assets in the city too. And you have a way of sort of figuring out how to, as you said, bring people forward, figure out how to support them, but also connect them in ways maybe they didn't anticipate.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that. I joke and say I collect people so that I can connect them. You know, the bodies are stacking up behind me. I've been collecting so many people. But, you know, I sit on a lot of different councils and boards with the city because they want that business perspective. And I want to remind all these different, you know, government entities that, you know, we're here to help you. We're not here to be somebody that's going to complain or we want to bring in solutions to problems and issues. I mean, I sat on the homelessness task force.
You did.
I mentioned I've been on the Independence Day Celebration Committee and the Chocolate Lovers Festival Committee. The Chamber was one of the founding groups for Chocolate Lovers Festival. And when I found that out, I was like, well, why aren't we planning it now? Why aren't we on that committee? So here I am, chair of the committee. Well, but I work closely with Parks and Rec there. Mm-hmm. That's how I really got to know them. And the whole like MCN Rock the Block thing came from a comment where somebody that works for Parks and Rec said, oh man, I hate having to do that. And I was like, I can do that for you. And I had the gig for 2 years and it was so much fun. I mean, they let me off the hook last year. I was very sad.
But now you're the on-call MC because they like within 1 week, you were emceeing 2 major events for the city. And who would they have called if they didn't have you to call to do that?
I don't know. But it's fun and I love it. I love seeing the regulars in the city and talking to the citizens. You know, I literally joke and say I'm a talking head. I'm just a talking head. I have nothing to do with the planning of Rock the Block for sure. But you know, people are amazed that we have these great events in the city and the Chamber loves to support them. I wish that I could throw money that way and be financial sponsors of things, but you know, my time is pretty valuable and I gladly and freely give it when they need it.
Well, and that's the thing about constraints, right? Like if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? But you have to get creative when you don't. Mm-hmm. When you don't have space or you don't have, we're looking at a lack of venues sometimes. You were talking about restaurants. Some restaurants aren't large enough, but there aren't really venues in the city either to host big crowds. So these are constraints and challenges that you have to figure out how to work with when you're trying to put on an event.
Mm-hmm. And in my years in the nonprofit space taught me a lot, right? Thinking creatively, operating on a shoestring budget. You know, the Chamber's headquarters is a 10-foot by 10.5-foot office. Everything the Chamber owns is in there.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been in your office.
It's tight. I dream of the day that I have my own office. I dream of that day in storage, but it will come. It 100% will come.
Well, you've got, like you said, you've got like an events person now, so that's a step in the right direction. You have an intern.
I do.
So look at that. So you're chugging right along there. Chugging right along. So what do you hope for the remainder of the year? We've got big things. I mentioned the Shop Local event, Women Mean Business.
Yes, I'm so excited about the Shop Local Week. You know, we've had Restaurant Week in the city of Fairfax since 2018, so 7 years. And now we do it twice a year. But, you know, our retail establishments haven't been feeling the love, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really excited when Fairfax City's Economic Development Office said, we want to do something. I'm like, we're in, whatever you need. So Shop Local Week is coming up July 25th through the 31st. We have planned a Women Mean Business event in conjunction with it. I'm calling it a little retail therapy session. We're going to do it Friday the 26th, 4:30 to 6. We're going to end, coincidentally, about the same time that Rock the Block starts.
Ta-da!
I have no idea if I'm emceeing this month, but you know, I'll be there with my women shoppers and gentlemen too. They're always welcome to attend our Women Mean Business events. In fact, I kind of encourage it because they need to understand where women are coming from and the challenges that women do face. I mean, it is hard. I mentioned about entrepreneurship being a lonely place. When you're a woman, even more lonely. If husbands are like mine, who just want to fix things, I can fix that. No, you can't.
Yeah,
I need to marinate this problem for a little bit. I need my tribe of women, and that is exactly what Women Mean Business is about. It's that tribe, because all the ladies that are a part of the group that attend events, they're in different places in their business, so they can share, like, oh, I remember when I had that problem 3 years ago. Here's what I did, or hey, I'm going through this. What do you think about? Oh, I never thought about that. I should try that. It's wonderful to see the conversations that take place at our events.
So I appreciate you being inclusive of men. That's very important. I think it's very important for them to see how the other half literally lives. But what about people who are non-members? Like, you're doing these events and I'm not a chamber member.
That's okay.
Are we inclusive of
absolutely.
non-members?
All of my chamber events, except for one, are open to the public. Now, you may pay a little more because you're
a non-member fee.
Yeah, we call it the future investor. Over the optimist I am. You may pay a little more, but yes, all of our events are open to the public except our pre-4th of July parade breakfast. That's the only one you have to be a member to attend. And it was great this year.
It was.
It was. So yeah, all of our events open to the public, and most chambers are like that. There's very few events that they would be like, no, you must be a member.
So this is kind of a good way to sort of test drive the programming if you are not a member of the chamber, your company's not in the chamber. And can people be individual members of the chamber?
There is a non-business membership that's very, very affordable, but we generally reserve that for retirees, politicians, government officials, or people that are between jobs. If you come in at that individual rate, you're not there to promote your business. But I mean, for a solopreneur, it's like 88 cents a day to be a member of our chamber. It's very, very affordable investment for members to have not just access to networking, but I know a guy or a gal.
Yeah.
You were talking about that earlier. People ask you,
do you know somebody?
I get it all the time. And if they're not in the chamber, my network is large. I probably know a guy or a gal that can help them with their problem. And just having that person on speed dial is very valuable because, I mean, these entrepreneurs, whether you're a man or a woman, you're busy doing what you do best. Whether it's cooking, doing nails, doing the books, you don't have time to pay attention to what's going on.
That's true. So just, we're coming up in the last minute or so. What about your ambassador program?
Oh,
you've got a lot of ambassadors.
We are growing the ambassadors. I'm trying to get to 30. They are amazing chamber members who come to ribbon cuttings. They are points of contact for new members. They reach out to current members. They each have a list once a quarter. I change it around. And they are the friendly faces of the chamber. They tell you whether you should join the chamber. I get paid to tell you, they don't. And they are amazing. I could not do what I do without them because I can't be everywhere at once. I try.
No, you cannot.
People think that I'm cloned, but I'm not.
And I will say this, my interactions with your ambassadors, they're very enthusiastic supporters. People can go to your website. We've been running that. Your website has all of your events and people can sign up to come and understand what it is that you do as a chamber. So thank you, Jennifer Rose.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'm sure this is not the last time we'll be talking because I like talking to you and I think it's very valuable information. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about women in business tonight with the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce.